Good afternoon. In this class, we will study about the first example. I greet a teacher and a student that are in a classroom. In this sentence, we will figure out that the pronoun that links the subordinate clause as a description for the precedent in the main clause is applied in the defining way. The pronoun that indicate the precedent in the main clause, a teacher and a student whose number is plural, 2. And the pronoun that is able to indicate the 2 people as a precedent. So we find that the pronoun that indicates the 2 people in the main clause by the form of the be verb are that describes the pronoun that in the subordinate clause. The speaker indicates the object, so it's a good thing that we do not need to try finding the precedent that the pronoun indicates in the subordinate clause, because the pronoun that is only applied in the defining way, because the pronoun that indicates every precedent. The speaker indicates the object of the transitive verb greet in the main clause with the precedent, a teacher and a student, and the subordinate clause that are in a classroom to describe the 2 precedents. From the form of the be verb are, the listeners can get the information that the precedent indicated by the pronoun that is plural, or indicates the subject who participates in the conversation with the speaker, because of the form of the be verb are. The second sentence is this: I greet a teacher and a student that is in a classroom. In this sentence, we find that the pronoun that is applied to link the subordinate clause to the main clause while indicating the pronoun, the phrase of the noun of student in the main clause only. And we still find that the pronoun that is applied in the defining way. There is no comma in this sentence. And the way I find out this fact is the form of the be verb is in the subordinate clause. The form of the be verb is reveals that the subject indicated by the pronoun that is singular, and the subject who does not participate in the conversation between the speaker and the listeners. So we can narrow down the range of the precedent in the main clause by a student. Even though the pronoun that can indicate every subject, but the speaker intends to specify the precedent of student as the only precedent of the pronoun that, and this is revealed by the form of the be verb is. So we can understand that the speaker intends to describe more about the student as the precedent, as the only precedent. The speaker indicates the transitive verb greet in the main clause with the phrase of the nouns of teacher and a student to include the precedent of student, and the subordinate clause that is in a classroom to describe the precedent of student. The speaker reveals the fact that the precedent of student, which indicates the same subject as the pronoun that, indicates the singular subject, and the subject does not participate in the conversation with the speaker from the form of the be verb is. This gives us huge information to describe the pronoun that in the subordinate clause. The subordinating conjunction who, whom, which, or whose to link the subordinate clause that has a trait as a description to the main clause is applied in a defining or in a non-defining way, in either way. The subordinating conjunction who to link the subordinate clause that has the trait as an adjective to describe the precedent, who is a person, in the main clause indicates the subject or object that is a person as the precedent. This is the primary premise. There's a sentence. I greet a person and the other person who is sophisticated. In this sentence, we find that the subordinate clause is applied to describe the other person as the only precedent. The reason why I could figure out this fact is the form of the be verb is. And there is no comma. So we find that the pronoun who is applied in the defining way first. Secondly, the be verb reveals that the number of the precedent is 1 and the subject does not participate in the conversation with the speaker and the listeners. Okay, let's read the explanation. The speaker indicates the object of the transitive verb greet in the main clause with the phrase of the noun a person and the other person to include the precedent the other person and the subordinate clause who is sophisticated to describe the only precedent the other person. The speaker links the precedent the other person to indicate a person and the pronoun who as a subordinating conjunction to indicate the same subject as the precedent the other person in a defining way. The second example is the same arrangement of the words, but this sentence has a comma after the other person, after the phrase of the noun that declares the statement of the main clause is completed. In this sentence, we find that there is a comma additionally. The arrangement of the words is the same as the first example, but we find that there is one more option, a comma. This tells us that the pronoun who is applied in the non-defining way. So we have to figure out the proper precedent that occurs with the premise of the pronoun who. So, do you find the precedent? I think the precedent of the pronoun who is a person, because the comma reveals that the indication, the phrase of the general noun, the other person, right ahead of the pronoun who is not the precedent. This is the first reason. And the pronoun who indicates a person. So we can find that, we can narrow down the precedent as a person in the main clause. And this is supported by the form of the be verb is. The form of the be verb is reveals that the number of the subject indicated by the pronoun who is singular, and the subject does not participate in the conversation between the speaker and the listeners. Okay, let's read the explanation together. The speaker indicates the object of the transitive verb greet in the main clause with the phrase of the noun a person and the other person to include the precedent a person. And the subordinate clause who is sophisticated to describe the precedent, the only precedent a person. The speaker reveals that the statement of the main clause is finished, completed, with the application of a comma to state the subordinate clause linked by the pronoun who to indicate the same subject as the president or person after the main clause is stated completely. The pronoun who is linked to the president or person in the main clause with a non-defining way. This is the conclusion. And the second one is this. The second conference is this. The speaker links the subordinate clause to the main clause to apply the pronoun whom to emphasize the fact that the pronoun who, which indicates the same person as the president in the main clause, practices the role of the object. To receive the definition of the transitive verb or a preposition in the subordinate clause, this consonant M reveals that the person, same as the president, has the role of the object in the subordinate clause. There is a sentence. I see a male and his friend whom you like. In this sentence, we find that the pronoun whom is applied in the defining way because there is no comma. So we figure out that the president indicated by the pronoun whom is a male and his friend. President or a male and his friend. I needed to clarify the number of the president. The speaker indicates the object of the and these two objects in the main clause have the role of the object in the subordinate clause as well. So this is the reason why the pronoun whom has the form differentiated from the pronoun who. The speaker indicates the object of the transitive verb in the main clause with the phrase of the noun a male and his friend to include the president, his friend, and the subordinate clause whom you like to describe the president, his friend. In this explanation, I wrote down the president of the main clause is the only one, his friend, and I explained in a way that the president in this sentence are two. Between these two opinions, the only president and the plural president are clarified by the intent of the speaker. We needed more context to figure out the president, but we do not have it, so we can interpret it in both ways. The speaker indicates the object of the transitive verb. This is obvious because the form of the verb in the subordinate clause does not give us the information about the exact president. In this case, figuring out the president is dependent on the intent of the speaker. The speaker indicates the object of the transitive verb like in the subordinate clause with the pronoun whom to indicate the same object as the president, his friend, to indicate a person in the main clause. The speaker links the president, his friend, and the subordinating conjunction whom in the defining way. The second sentence is this, and the arrangement of the words is the same as the first example, but there is a comma after the main clause is fully stated. So we can find that the pronoun whom is applied in the non-defining way, and we need to find the precedent that occurs with the pronoun whom. In this sentence, finding out the only president is relatively obvious because the application of the comma reveals that the pronoun whom indicates the president that is not right ahead of the pronoun whom. So the pronoun his friend, the phrase of the noun his friend is excluded. So we find that the pronoun whom indicates a male. The speaker plus the pronoun whom is applied as the object of in the subordinate clause, and this is the reason why the pronoun whom has the form differentiated from the pronoun who. The speaker indicates the object of the transitive verb see in the main clause with the phrase of the noun a male and his friend to include the president a male and the subordinate clause whom you like to describe the president a male. The speaker indicates the object of the transitive verb like in the subordinate clause with the pronoun whom to indicate the same object as the president a male to indicate a person in the main clause. The speaker links the president a male and the subordinating conjunction whom in the non-defined way. This means there is a comma in the sentence that the subordinate clause is linked to the main clause. The third conference is needed to be introduced briefly, and we will study about this third conference in the next class. The pronoun which originates from the compound of the pronoun who to indicate a person and a word alike that has the trait as an adjective and an adverb. The pronoun which to describe the president in the main clause is classified as the pronoun who to indicate a person and specialized to indicate a subject and an object that is not a person. This is the first phrase, the first paragraph is about the origin of the word which, that the pronoun who and the explanation, the descriptive word alike is compounded, mixed. So the interrogative pronoun which, is able to indicate a person and the things that are not a person, both. But in a case that the speaker links the subordinate clause to the main clause by the pronoun which, the speaker differentiates the indication for a person by the pronoun who, and the speaker only links the president that indicates a thing that is not a person by the pronoun which. The speaker only applies the pronoun which for a thing that is not a person. This can be understood as a specialization. And the next page is going to be studied in the next class. Thank you for watching.